The guy I drunkenly kissed at a local bar turned out to be my ex-girlfriend's brother. Babe, at least let me walk you back to your dorm. It is late at night, I begged. I would rather walk alone than with you. I feel like exploding right now. Ugh, she exclaimed as she stormed away from me. Babe, I'm sorry, okay? Let me make us some tea and we can talk. I tried to calm her down. She turned to look at me with tear-stained eyes. What is there to talk about when you are clearly cheating on me, she asked. For the 100th time, I'm not cheating on you. Then why the hell are you not showing me affection, she asked angrily. Because I'm having issues with my family, I explained. Nonsense, there's someone else. I will not be second to whatever is going on. I am done, she screamed. Bree, babe, please do not leave me, I begged. 1 minute you are hot and the next you are cold. I cannot deal with this. We have to break up, she said, looking torn. But Bree, I did not even get to finish my sentence because she had already left. I threw myself on my couch and screamed. This was the last thing I needed. The next afternoon. No, it cannot be, I whispered to myself, feeling the tears form in my eyes from the shock. Out of everything that could have happened, this one was the worst. I did not see this on that day. Sir, your card has declined. Do you have an alternative payment method we could try? The cashier said. Just give me a moment. I need to check something. I tried to smile so as not to worry her. I knew I had money in my account. It had to be a misunderstanding. Quickly, I logged into my banking app and checked the balance, which shocked the life out of me. I had nothing. Somehow I had been cleaned out. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cancel the transaction. It seems that I'm having issues with my bank, I said nervously. She sighed annoyedly, then started typing something on her computer when a voice interrupted her. Don't cancel the transaction, I'll pay for him, a deep rumbling voice said. As soon as I heard the voice, a tremor went down my body. Its richness immediately soothed me and my headache momentarily faded. Curious as to who possessed such a voice, I turned around just to see a man in formal wear opening his wallet and offering his card to the cashier. He wore black, had a clean haircut, and was carefully groomed. It was like he did not even belong in that grocery store. He sooner belonged in a romance novel than at the checkout. He had me mesmerized from the first look. Time stopped, and all my senses were flooded. I couldn't take my eyes off the way his Adam's apple moved as he spoke. I've not felt so secure in a person's presence before. It was a great experience. Sir, you do not have to. You are doing me such a huge favor. How can I thank you? I asked. Tears were so close to streaming down my face after this act of kindness. You're a student, right? I can see your attire. I remember how difficult student days were. I was just doing what any other person would. If you want to thank me, then stay in school. He flashed me a beautiful smile. When I left the store, all that fled my mind was our brief interaction. That feeling which I could not understand came over me again, but I pushed it down. It could not be that I was attracted to him. If so, then why was I still so in love with my ex Brianna? Surely it was just my stress hormones being out of control. A cruel prank was being played on me where I did not feel the urge to do more than kiss Brianna, but that man had slightly aroused me, not only by his looks but by the way he carried himself. Later that day, I tried so hard to study, but as soon as I went online and saw a post Brianna made, I could not. The truth was that I missed her. I missed our Friday movie nights with snacks, cuddles, and deep talks about life. No one else understood me like she did, despite the problems we had in our 2-year relationship. Now that we were supposed to have no contact, I realized that I did not have much of a life outside of her, and it ate at me. It ate at me until I gave in and responded to her post. You still have the funniest takes on Star Wars. Shows how much you are obsessed with it, I teased. A moment later, she reacted to my message with a heart, which made me feel so much better. That triggered memories of the deep discussions we would have about Star Wars lore and how we could never agree on which order to watch it. Suddenly, I got a response. I have always been the funnier one in the relationship, she wrote, which shocked me. I was about to respond when I noticed that she had deleted the comment. It occurred to me that she had sent that comment by mistake, which was understandable. A moment later, my phone rang. It was her. I picked it up before it could get to the third ring. Don't you even think you can weasel your way back into my good books? I said it was over, she immediately said angrily. Please, Bree, we need to work this out. I know that we can, I begged. You don't love me. I cannot be in a relationship like that, she insisted. Do you want some grand romantic gesture? You do know that I'm having family issues and financial issues, I explained. It is not about that. It is about how you are a good friend to me, but not a good lover. It feels like you are not even attracted to me. You need to deal with your issues. It feels like you are just using me to hang out because you are too socially anxious to make other friends, she said, driving a knife into my heart. Despite that, I was not going to give up on getting her back, and I needed to make a last-ditch attempt to get her back. I'm sorry, I'm just under so much pressure. My passion has run out, but I miss you so much, I tried to explain. Ewan, do not call me again. You need to sort your issues out. Her voice broke a little. I was about to ask if she was okay, but she hung up on me. I sighed as I laid back on the couch, defeated. I could not get over her absence. I needed to have her around me, but she did not want that. She wanted me away. As I looked up at the ceiling, I decided that I had suffered enough. I needed to do something to forget her. Somehow, I had become my own prisoner, unable to move on from the one person who treated me like a human being. I knew I was in for a long weekend without her, so I decided to use it to reflect. 2 weeks later. They say that time heals everything, and apparently that is true. It had been 2 weeks since I sent Brie a message, and I was feeling so much better. I spent a lot of time online researching heartbreaks and the best way to deal with them, so now I was implementing the steps. I did not have to study too much because I was ahead of the coursework, so I decided to pick up some hobbies. I learned that the local church was looking for students to help out, so I applied and got accepted. I received a small stipend for my effort and spent 3 evenings a week there. In the beginning, I was too shy to interact with people, but I slowly came out of my shell. There were some very kind people there who were so nice to me and included me in everything. Once I felt included, it was easier for me to interact with people. In addition, I spent a lot of time at the library learning about how to develop healthy interpersonal relationships. It was a very eye-opening experience that led me to realize that, due to my family situation, I had a hard time trusting people. I knew that I had a lot of work to do. 2 weeks was not going to heal me, but it was okay. Everything was going seemingly well until one evening. One of our duties at church was to help older people. We would drive them to and from church if they were too weak to. I had a particular lady, Miss Flowers, who I normally dropped off at home. One evening, she invited me in for coffee. "It's not late yet. I'm sure you can spare a couple of minutes," she suggested. There was no way I could say no to an old lady, so I agreed to have coffee with her. "You know, you are one of 2 young people I know who show true kindness to older people. The world has forgotten most of us, but you guys still help us out," she mused as she sipped her tea. Her words struck a chord within me. It felt good to be impacting someone's life. "Do not thank me. It is no trouble at all. You said that you had a hair appointment tomorrow, right? What time must I pick you up?" I asked. 3 p.m. is okay, then David is taking me shopping," she said. "Oh, who is David, your grandson?" I asked. "No, he is the sweet young man who rents the other side of my house. You would get along so well. He is a nice fella like you," she told me. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. "Let me get that for you." I immediately shot up and made for the door. As soon as I opened the door, the wind was knocked out of me. It was the man who helped me in the grocery store weeks ago, in the flesh. His face was so distinct that I was sure that it was him. "Hi, are you looking for Miss Flowers?" I asked. "Yes. Is she in? I need to fix her kitchen cabinet," he explained. It was him. That voice was unmistakable. It sent sparks through me and drew me in, and once again I was under a spell. "It is you! You're the one who helped me pay for my things when my card declined at the store," I exclaimed, in awe. I could not believe that we had crossed paths once again. He looked me up and down and scrunched his face as if trying to remember, then suddenly his eyes lit up. "It is you! You look so much better than that day," he commented. Thanks," I said shyly. "Not saying you looked horrible, but you looked very sad. When I first saw you, it was like your spirit had gone out. I'm glad to see you feeling better," he explained, nervously tucking his hair behind his ear. I looked at him, unable to move or speak due to my shock, until suddenly he started turning red. "Wow, you can really look a person deep in their soul and make them confess all their sins," he chuckled. I laughed lightly and stepped aside for him. "Mrs. Flowers, I had no idea that your David was the Good Samaritan who paid for my groceries a few weeks ago," I told her as soon as I saw her. "Do not give me too much credit. You seem to be having a bad day and I wanted to make it better," David tried to play it off. "See, I told you, Ewan. David is a heaven sent, and so are you. You two take more care of me than my own family." "Ewan, David is new in town and does not have friends your age. You should hang out with him sometime," she said. "Well, that would be wonderful. Why don't you come around the church sometime? There are a lot of young people there," I suggested. "Church is really not my vibe. I kinda have a complicated relationship with religion because I'm gay," he explained. I could not help but be surprised at how blunt he was. Still, it did not change how I felt about him. He was a good man who was doing a lot for others. "Not a problem. We can do other things. I'm free most evenings. There's lots to do here," I reassured him. He looked taken aback, but I failed to discern why. "Let me give you my number then," he smiled as he took out his phone. After exchanging numbers, I poured him some tea and we spent a couple of hours with Mrs. Flowers before I had to head home. Later that night, I was buzzing with happiness by the time I went to bed because of David. My impression of him had improved even further since the last time that I saw him. He was a good man who enjoyed helping others and did not have friends like me. Clearly, we had to stick together. Before going to bed, I sent him a text. "Hey, it was nice to meet you. I hope that we meet again soon." Then I fell into a peaceful sleep. 2 days later. I did not get a text from him until 2 days later. By the time he texted me, I had already convinced myself that he did not like me that much and he tolerated me for Mrs. Flower's sake. It hurt to think of it in that way, but I had to be realistic. I probably made the whole thing sound better in my head than it actually was. With that thought, I focused on keeping myself busy and avoiding Bree on campus. As I finished class for the day one afternoon, I got a text from David. "Hey, sorry, I got a bit busy. Let me make up for the late texts. It's pretty hot today. Do you want to get some ice cream?" he sent. I thought about it for a second. I did not have too much homework, and I was only working at the church the following day. "Why not? I know just the spot," I responded immediately. A couple of minutes later. "Vanilla, please," I said to the server, relaxing in a cool booth. "I would like some banana ice cream," he said, which took me by surprise because Bree liked it too. "Vanilla is plain. I am judging," he wiggled his eyebrows. I burst out into laughter and stuck my tongue out. Feeling so natural around him, I felt like I'd known him for a while, which was weird because we barely knew each other. I decided to silence my mind and enjoy the meetup. "So, tell me about yourself," I asked, getting serious now. "Well, I'm 24, just moved into town for work and I enjoy trying new things. When I'm not working, I'm taking walks and exploring nature or being annoyed by my sister. What about you?" "I'm 21, turning 22 soon. I basically study, go to the library, and volunteer at church," I revealed. "And do you have any siblings or a partner?" he probed. "I'm the oldest of 2. My younger brother stays with my mom and stepdad. I recently broke up with my girl, who was my only friend. I laid it out for him." "Breakups are difficult. Do you mind me asking why you broke up?" he inquired curiously. I was silent for a moment as I thought about my relationship. I hated that it had to end because she was the only one who got me, the only one who made me forget my terrible life. I smiled sadly and told him, "I guess I did not give her enough affection. We were always fighting and she needed a lot more from me than I could give," I responded. "Do you still love her?" he asked me. I was stuck on that question. I missed her and wanted her in my life, but to be honest, I did not know if I missed the relationship aspect. I was about to answer when our ice creams were served and we changed the topic. A couple of days later, I had somehow fallen asleep in the middle of studying when a loud knock woke me up. I was so startled that I jumped up and took a moment to wake up. I made my way to the door where I found David with a basket. "Hey, I saw your post about exams been draining. I thought you could use a break." He offered the basket to me. Inside the basket were some fruits and snacks. Without thinking, I embraced him. "You did not have to," I insisted. "You work very hard. You also do a good job helping Mrs. Flowers. This is only to give back," David insisted. "Please, come in. I cannot possibly finish all this alone," I insisted. Instantly, his eyes lit up and he came in. I got up some plates and distributed the snacks, and then we started talking. "So, why did you choose this town?" I asked. "It's small and cute, and it was easily the best choice," he said. "Do you know anyone else here besides me?" I asked. "Only you and my sister," he grinned as he bit into an apple. I've never been so mesmerized by someone eating an apple before. My eyes focused on his strong, manly hand, the way his jaw clenched, and the way he swallowed it. My eyes then traveled down to his half-buttoned shirt, and I found myself having some unnatural thoughts. Just as quickly as I fell into that trance, I was rudely awakened. "And you? Do you have any family around?" And the conversation carried on. I wondered what these intense feelings I had around him were. I needed to explore them. A month later, David and I became very good friends after having coffee together. We saw each other nearly every day, whether it was at Mrs. Flower's house or elsewhere. The town was tiny enough for us to bump into each other and for me to see Bree too. With time, Bree started to greet me and ask about my well-being. It was baby steps, but it gave me hope. It appeared that she was less angry with me than she used to be, and I was grateful for that. Who knew? Maybe one day we would be back together. On my birthday, I was surprised to wake up to a text from her saying, "Happy birthday, Ewan. I wish you a beautiful day filled with happiness. I hope to see you later today so I can give you a present," she wrote. I felt a rush of excitement flooding through me. She had not been this friendly to me in a long time, and it was quite a relief. As I was about to start my day, I got a text from David. "Happiest of birthdays to you. You made it. I'm so happy for you and I hope you have a good day. What are you planning on doing? You are lucky your birthday is on a Friday." I could not contain the smile that split my face open. Might hit up a bar with some friends I have been making at church, I told him. Sounds good, you better enjoy. I am not really a bar person, but I will try. I wanted to write that. It would have been better if he had been present, but did not want to get ahead of myself. Later that evening. I had never drunk so much in my entire life. My friends kept on buying me more and more drinks, and with each drink I loosened up some more. I felt myself slowly feeling better, especially knowing that I was going to see Bree the next day. She had told me that she was busy on my birthday, but wanted to have lunch the following day. Something about lunch made me feel weirdly optimistic. I could not wait to tell her about the way I had transformed my life in the past couple of months. I had made new friends, focused on helping others, and had a life outside of her. This was what she wanted, right? The only thing I could not figure out was why I was not inclined to think about her passionately. Yet sometimes when I was with David, I could swear I felt it. But that was impossible, right? I knew she craved intimacy, which I failed to give to her, and it was driving me crazy. No matter what I tried, I struggled to feel that desire. Maybe it was a me thing or something. Right then, my thoughts left my brain, and I had no idea what I was even thinking about when I saw him. My entire body suddenly became warm, and parts of me got excited as I gazed upon David. He was so attractive that was one thing I could never get used to. Often, he had amazed me with the way he looked, smelled, and even spoke. It was weird how Bree could never bring out that reaction from me, but he could. Tonight, he was looking extra fine. He was wearing a see-through vest which revealed his well-defined chest, and his hair was styled and looked wet. As he came closer to me, my interest piqued even more. I could not resist his intense gaze, the way he walked as if he was on clouds, and the way my body reacted to it. Well, if it's not the birthday boy, what a nice surprise for us to end up at the same bar, he announced as he pulled me in for a hug. Maybe it was the liquor, the atmosphere, or my energy, but that hug was electrifying. When he pulled away, we briefly made eye contact. Out of their own will, my eyes traveled to his lips, and I had the sudden urge to kiss him again. If I was being honest, there have been times where I have thought about it, but I've always dismissed it as intrusive thoughts. I was certain that I was attracted to girls, right? So why was it that late at night I thought about him and wondered what it would be like to be very close with him? It did not matter that night because all of my senses were in overdrive. With every casual touch, shared look, and a whiff of his scent, I found myself losing control. I knew I had to control myself, but it was difficult. I was curious about what would happen if I dared cross that line. As I was lost in my own thoughts, he tried to say something, but I could not hear him over the music. My confused expression must have alerted him to this because he leaned in close and whispered, "I'm going to dance. Want to come along?" I nodded without a word and followed him to the dance floor. He kept a respectful distance from me while we danced, but that did not help. Our bodies touched too often and it drove me crazy. At some point, I took his hand. He smiled reassuringly when I did that, which made me even more bold. After a while, I got tired of the dancing and led him to a dark booth hidden from the rest of the dance floor. My body was flooded with happy emotions and alcohol, which made it so natural for me to caress his hand. His lips parted, and he looked at me with desire. It did not frighten me because I felt it too, but I was too nervous to do something. Suddenly, he cupped my cheek and gently pecked me. Sparks shot through me in that millisecond. He leaned back and looked at me with worry in his eyes, realizing what he had done. I surprised myself by leaning back and kissing him with deep urgency. That kiss shattered my world and remade it in a second. That can be the only way to describe that kiss. In all my life, I never knew that kissing could invoke such feelings within me. I was aware of how soft his lips were, how his hands massaged my hair and the feelings bubbling up inside me. I'd never known that such pleasure could exist. I found myself kissing him back, moving closer toward him, till we were in another corner of the booth. I wanted to remain in that booth with him, kissing him some more, but eventually he pulled away. "Why did you stop?" My voice sounded so far away. Strange feelings and the desire for more ruled me, and I found myself leaning closer. "Are you sure?" he asked me. And just like that, reality set in and felt like cold water had just been poured over me. The reality of what I had done and the effect it had on my body instantly sobered me up, and I found myself standing up. I heard him call after me, but I was already heading for the exit. I ran all the way home, thoughts racing in my head. Where were these sudden feelings coming from? Was it just him, or all men who could bring this out of me? Was this what they meant when they spoke about attraction? Was what I felt the equivalent of attraction, something that I had heard a lot about but never felt? Those questions kept me up late at night, as well as memories of what had just happened. Accompanying those memories was a slight echo of what I had felt. In addition, I felt a longing to explore more. Then I fell asleep, but my dreams were far from peaceful. The next afternoon, I was late to lunch by about 20 minutes, and I was panicking. After getting home, I was so tired but high on adrenaline. I replayed the events of the night till I fell asleep. Unfortunately, I did not hear my alarm in the morning, so I woke up late. Nevertheless, I quickly got ready and made my way to go see Bree. She was looking as beautiful as always when I saw her, wearing a sundress and drinking a cold beverage. When she saw me, she offered a kind smile and hugged me. Sorry I was so late. I did not hear my alarm, I explained. That's completely fine. I have not been here long. Anyways, here is your birthday present, she smiled as she handed a small gift bag to me. I accepted it and opened it immediately. It was a bracelet with charms, very colorful and pleasing to the eye. Thank you so much. I love this, I gushed. I'm glad you do. We should have some food and catch up, she suggested. I agree with that. There is so much for us to talk about, I beamed as I started telling her more about what I had been doing lately. Afterwards, we discussed her life, fears, and goals. It had been so long since we had a peaceful discussion that having one was the most refreshing thing ever. I missed her friendship, our light banter, and jokes. Hours later, it was getting dark and the place was about to close, so we began to say our goodbyes. My ride was taking a long time to arrive, so I helped her wait for hers. Sure enough, her ride arrived first, and I walked her there. Then locked eyes with her driver, and time stood still. He got out of the car and hugged her, then asked, How do you know Ewan, Bree? Bree? Who is David to you? I also inquired. Bree looked between the two of us before giggling. What a small town. Do you two know each other? This is my brother David. David, this is my ex, she gestured toward me. David's face completely changed when she introduced me, and suddenly I felt fear travel down my spine. No. Ewan is your ex? The guy who made you cry? WTF, Ewan, David's voice rose as he came toward me. I was petrified from fear or shock, so I could not move when he charged toward me like a bull. David, stop! It is more complicated than that, Bree pleaded. Her voice seemed to have gotten through to him because he stopped moving and put his hands on my face. Then he started muttering, Oh gosh, repeatedly. You're scaring me. What's going on? Bree asked. I'm so sorry, Bree, I started, ready to tell her everything. She deserved to know the truth. Before I could do so, David pulled me by the hand and whispered in my ear, I'm not going to force you to out yourself, no matter how upset I am right now. Just do me a favor and leave my sister alone. Before you tell her anything, you have to figure yourself out, he said. His kindness, despite his anger, warmed my heart. He could have easily told Bree that I might be gay, but he gave me a choice. I think I need to tell her, I responded. He nodded, then turned to Bree and said, He's coming with us. There's something we need to discuss. Okay, she shrugged. Later that evening. What the hell? Bree exclaimed, immediately standing up from her shock. She looked at the both of us and looked away as if it hurt too much. I'm sorry, and I understand if you do not want to see me again, I tried to explain. If I had known that he was your ex, I would have never kissed him, I swear, David said. Suddenly she paused, and a light went up in her head. It's him? He is the new friend you told me about that you think is cute but is in the closet? She slowly made the connection. This information was news to me, so he really thought I was attractive. It definitely cast things in a new light, so the attraction was mutual, and he was not just doing me a favor? Yes, it is him, but trust me, whatever was happening is done, David said decidedly. I'm surprised, but not really. Now it explains why you did not really enjoy intimacy in our relationship. Gosh, I was such a fool, she said as tears rolled down her face. Instinctively, I brought her in for a hug. That does not mean I did not love you. You are my best friend in the whole world. I wanted to work out so bad, but I think that I am gay. I need to figure it out, I said, holding her as tightly as possible. I locked eyes with David across the room, and he mouthed, Thank you. A moment later, Bree let go of me. Well, knowing the truth is better than living in the shadows. I need some time to process this, but I do understand, she said, clutching my hands. Thank you, I managed a small smile. We had some soda before David had to drive me home. My car had been giving me issues, so for days I had been relying on ride apps. The drive was silent because each of us was in our thoughts, and then we got to my place. I knew something had to be said. I do not want to lose our friendship, I told him. I do not want to lose you either, but right now things are complicated. Let us give it a little time, he responded. I agreed and brought him in for a hug. I knew there was something bubbling between us beneath the surface, but now was not the time. We needed to deal with the results of our kiss and then see a way forward. A couple of weeks later. One afternoon, after a week of rigorous tests, Bree, David, and I were lounging in Mrs. Flower's backyard, drinking soda and playing some games. What should we do tonight? There has to be some party to celebrate the test being done, Bree suggested. I am too tired to party. What I want is a nap, I answered, stretching my arm out. Suddenly, I felt a heartbeat on my hand. Quickly, I pulled my hand away. As I did so, I locked eyes with David. I looked up at the sky, hoping to hide my blush. I agree, David said. What a shock. I know Ewan is the king of boring, but seems like he's rubbing off on you, Bree mocked him. Ewan is far from boring. Shut up, David responded without missing a beat. Hearing him say that about me made me smile. I could not even contain myself. Oh, I know you do not think he's boring, Bree responded in a weird tone. I looked at her curiously, wondering what she was trying to say. Do not start, David stared her down. She smirked and then said, What, are you shy? I started to feel strange, like I was intruding. At that very moment, David stood up and said, I need to get some more sunscreen. As soon as he was in earshot, she said, So, have you figured out who you like yet? What? Who told you that I like him? Did I let it slip? I asked, panicking. Laughter tinkled out of her as I realized how I had just exposed myself. I meant between boys and girls, she clarified. Oh, I said, ashamed. I think he likes you too. You should ask him out, she suggested. How do you know? I questioned. Because you can cut the tension between you two with a knife. Do not worry, I have no problem with it, she said. Okay, I responded shyly. At that moment, he returned. David, would you like to watch some movies with me later on? Bree is going out, I said. Oh, sure, we haven't hung out in ages, he responded. Don't do what I wouldn't do, she shouted. I rolled my eyes at how direct she was. Good, enjoy your night, she winked, and off she went, leaving me and David in an awkward silence. So what were you two talking about when I was gone? The conversation seemed so serious. What? Nothing, I found myself turning red. Even though you are cute when you blush, it reveals you are lying, David teased, his eyes sparkling. I nervously played with my hands, thinking about what his sister said. We are not keeping anything from you, but you know what they say about paranoid people. They are the ones with secrets, I drawled as I pinned him with my gaze. This time he was the one who looked away and let out a nervous laugh. Why are you so nervous? I asked as I moved closer to him and cupped his chin. It is kind of hard not to be when you are so close, his words made me gasp. David shook his head and muttered, Here I go making things weird. I think I can make them weirder, I proclaimed as I kissed his cheek, suddenly overcome by boldness. Careful what you do, he warned, smirking. I simply plastered a big smile on my face and then suddenly, he pecked me on the lips. It was something small, but it felt good and natural. I wanted to lean in and get more, but I decided he would have to wait for that night. Says the one playing dangerous games. See you tonight, I winked and left him standing there speechless. On the inside, I was screaming from giddiness. Something was definitely happening between us. I was right to make the first move. I felt like I was walking on sunshine, excited and hopeful. Conclusion. David and I took things slowly after the movie night. It was so easy for my feelings to be affirmed as I spent more time with him. His kindness and patience helped me to accept my sexuality. David may be my gay awakening, but it was Bree who taught me what it truly means to love someone, and I'll forever be grateful for her. That not only did she understand, but remained my friend. I'm sure with her support and the love David and I have for each other, we'll be able to withstand anything that may come in our way. The end. Have you ever had the hots for an ex's sibling? Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force. And stay wholesome.